Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Morgan Bunker on the line, and he's a SaaS sales executive over at PPI Business Services. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you very much for having me on.
All right, Morgan, so excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to get into workforce optimization, employee engagement, talk about a little bit of culture creation, and a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives following us today. So I'm sure they're going to be excited for the episode too. Just to get us kicked off, though, Morgan, let's go into what you're doing over at PPI Business Services. Tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Happy to. So over at PPI, we're basically an end-to-end full-service human capital management service provider. What that is a solution that takes away all the hassle associated with aggregating and reporting on all the data an employee creates during their lifetime at a company.
Man, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, I always talk to people about this, and I'm like, you start off your company, it becomes simple, especially if you bootstrap it or something. You have a couple employees, and then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, then the systems get more complex, and then you're like, what do I do? How did this mess happen? So excited to get further into PPI and what's going on over there. And just to start off with, to kick off the topic, so workforce optimization, employee engagement, culture creation. Let's just start with workforce optimization. So, you work with a lot of different companies. Where do you find, and this is going to change from company to company, of course, but what do you find are some of the key things that businesses need to have in mind when thinking about workforce optimization?
Well, employers get into business to fabricate a widget, or they are a service provider of some sort. They didn't get into business to administrate all of the data created and being the administrative arm of everything. They got into business to do business. And what we try to do is we try to take that hassle away. And it starts basically with the non-sexy word is payroll. And no one wants to think about payroll, but through market demand and technology, that's evolved into what they call human capital management. And that basically goes all the way through the process of recruiting, hiring, onboarding, tracking time, payroll, tax filings, all the way through COBRA when an employee ultimately ends up leaving an organization.
Where do you find, and again, I know this is going to vary from organization to organization, but where do you find a lot of the pitfalls are that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are out there having? Like, you just see this time and time again when you bring on a new prospect or client and you're like, I know we got to handle this.
Well, a lot of it is just unaware of the technology that's out there. And I know employers who are still tracking time on Excel spreadsheets and not utilizing the technology that's out there. And that's where the workforce optimization comes in, is through the utilization of a human capital management platform. That all becomes streamlined. It all becomes workflows, and managers have approval opportunities, and everything gets digitized. So on and so forth.
So let's take it a step further. So now we know, let's just say they have payroll, they have all these other good things set up, they got maybe a smooth onboarding process. What is this, and let's switch over a little bit. What is this, how does this employee engagement and culture creation part of the puzzle kind of fit into this?
So this is a really timely topic, given prior to the COVID-19 pandemic starting, we started to hear the term employee engagement. What does that mean? When you have an engaged employee, the science behind it is interesting. If an employee is engaged, there's a 41% reduction in absenteeism. There's a 17% increase in productivity, and we've seen upwards of 60% decrease in turnover or employee churn. And it basically it empowers an employee. It aligns an employee's role with the goals of the company. It gives them the power to do things that they weren't able to do previously. Something as simple as, if you're out buying a car, you don't have to go try to contact your HR person to try to get a copy of your W-2 something like that. That's all available via an employee self-service module on your phone. It empowers the employee to be better than they thought they could.
No, that's awesome, and I get it. So it's in what it comes down to when I talk to people about this all the time. I'm like, you want your employee to have at least as good of an experience, if possible, as when they're on Facebook when they come to work. If they're working on things and it's like pulling teeth and other things, like they're not going to be happy. If they're pulling out their phone and that's a better user experience than like trying to get, like you said, their W-2 or something because they're trying to buy a car. If they can't like just get that, or if they're not like plugged into everything, then it becomes a pain. And it's like, and you know, in some instances, it becomes one of those things of, why am I working here? Like Facebook works better than this. And I've had that all the time, especially depending on the age group, not to stereotype, but you know, some of the millennial employees, they're expecting a certain type of experience because they grew up with that experience of technology. So if you don't have things like this, it doesn't help with retention. There's a lot of other things that could happen and mess up engagement.
So interesting thing you say that. You mentioned the Facebook interaction and the millennials coming up within the workforce. We actually have an employee engagement platform, and it's called Mojo. And what that does, it's a social media platform for the workplace. It offers things like peer-to-peer collaboration, positive reinforcement from the C-suite to the workforce. There's connectivity availability. As a lot of workforces now are remote, it allows them to still stay connected to the mothership, so to speak. And there's a gamification element where you can score points for your interactions with your colleagues. And it's really a real cool tool. And we're seeing that that's just going crazy right now.
Oh man, that's awesome. See, and I didn't even know that. I knew you had some more stuff up your sleeve for me, Morgan. So final question, Morgan, a two-part question. So, number one, a lot of people listening right now, and we scratched the surface on this. I know you have a whole lot more to offer. I know you have a lot more tools also at PPI. That you just happened to mention one of them, which is that engagement tool. That being said, question number one. If somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more, and what are typically the right types of fit in terms of company that are a good fit to work with PPI? Question number one. Number two, what's the best way for them to connect with you and your team?
Okay, we'll tackle question one, which is our ideal sweet spot. It's quite large. The platform itself, the solution is incredibly robust. We find that we have single doctors. We have single attorneys where they are just a one-off payroll. They don't want to deal with it, but we can handle that. And we really start to get good after about 50 employees, because that's when you have to start reporting Affordable Care Act information to the government, and you have to start to track all of that information. And the module that corresponds with that in the platform is actually incredibly robust. We can go upwards. We have clients that are 2,500, 4,000. But we try to hit the mid-market, anywhere 50 to 450 or 500. That's really a good sweet spot. Multi-state abilities, and the one industry we can't partake in is the cannabis industry for kind of obvious reasons. But any other industry is perfectly suitable for our solution. And to get connected with us is on the web at ppibusinessservices.com. We've got 802 payroll if you want to call us. You can check me out on LinkedIn, Morgan Bunker, and there's some great content that myself and my team put out there as well. So those are the methods of getting a hold of us.
Fantastic. Well, Morgan, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about what you're doing over at PPI and what people need to think about when they're talking about workforce optimization and creating a great, environment for their employees. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this from our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're doing. And Morgan, thanks again for coming on the show.
Adam, thank you very much for having me.